Hey everybody, welcome to Inside Quest. If you are joining us, I'm guessing it's because you, my friend, are on a mission and you have a vision of your life, not as it is, but as it could be. And our goal is to help you gain the skills that you'll need to cross that chasm to accomplish anything from the simple to the seemingly impossible. And the guests that we're bringing on the show, they are the people that we believe can deliver the insights and skills needed to translate your ideas into concrete reality. And that is the biggest thing for me, is to actually make this stuff real. It's not enough to dream, you've got to execute. So how is today's guest going to be able to help? Well, if I had to sum it up, I think this guy can teach us how to build just about anything from scratch. Starting from absolutely nothing, he founded one of the most successful digital magazines on the planet. Through hustle and sheer determination, he built that magazine into a veritable digital empire that has attracted some of the world's most powerful entrepreneurs. Everyone from the ultra-established Richard Branson and Tony Robbins to new media moguls like Gary Vaynerchuk and Tim Ferriss have shared their secrets with him and graced the cover of his top 10 iTunes business and entrepreneurship magazine, Foundr. But if you really want to lose your mind, take a look at his Instagram account and you will see what explosive growth really looks like. It's absolutely bonkers. He's taken that account from 0 to nearly 1 million engaged followers in the blink of an eye. I'm incredibly jealous. And he's done all of that without any investors. And for the first over year of the business's life, he was still working a 9-to-5 job. His story is one of self-generating escape velocity, of brick by brick building a life of what he calls total freedom. He's executed on the dream that so many people only fantasize about. Please help me in welcoming the founder of Foundr magazine, the host of the Foundr podcast, the self-made man himself, Nathan Chan.
What's up, dude? Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's an honor, and for anybody that has seen your magazine but not heard your podcast, they may be surprised to hear that you're from down under.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun for me. I wasn't expecting that when we first connected. Which, by the way, thank you for having me on your show, which is really fantastic. One of the things that I respect about the show is it's hyper nuts and bolts, right? You're really trying to help people build a business. So I think you're uniquely qualified for that. But for people to understand why, walk them through what was going on in your head when you decided to start this all.
Yeah, so launched the magazine March 5th, 2013, so about 3.5 years ago. And before that, I was just really struggling with finding work that really fulfilled me. And I actually really wanted a job in marketing, and no one would hire me. It's really crazy.
Ironic now. I bet you could get one now.
Yeah, no problems at all. But back then, it was really crazy. No one wanted to know me. I went for even 3 different marketing jobs at the company that I was working at. And, I wasn't working in marketing. I was doing this job in IT that I absolutely, utterly hated. Didn't know anything about business, didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. But I read Tim Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This was probably about 5 years ago. And some things were seeded, and I really just wanted to do work that I was excited about. And I'll never forget, all the lead up. I'm just kind of sharing with you some of the lead ups to how it all started. I remember I was walking on the train to work, and I remember thinking to myself, I know that I could do so much more. I remember being on the train going to work, and it was just dead silent. A train full of hundreds of people, and be dead silent because everyone hated being there. And I was one of those people. And I guess, compiling all that together, there's something that was building up that I just had to find out what it took to become a successful entrepreneur. I had to find work that I really enjoyed. And, combining all that, I kind of launched the magazine.
What was it about the 4-Hour Workweek that impacted you? Because that had a big impact on me, and I know that Tim has collected a lot of different stories. And it's really interesting to see how different things resonated with different people. What was it in the book that was a real takeaway for you?
Yeah, I think the big takeaway from Tim's book was just around you don't have to do the work that you might be doing at this point in time, and you don't have to do what you're told. And, the internet has changed the game. Like right now, we live in a time where there's no better time in history than to start a business, and you can do it with little to no capital. You can do it with no knowledge whatsoever. I'm living proof of that, and you can make a difference, and you can do work that you enjoy.
Yeah, it's fun that Tim is sort of accidentally given the new world order that we live in, like this milestone, because you hear people reference his book a lot, and it really brings home what you were saying, which is that we live in a different time. And something that I hope you guys are all thinking about is no excuses, right? So one of the most profound things in his book is he talks about this concept of the nouveau riche. This is from Tim's book. And saying that, hey, there's this new lifestyle. You don't need a lot of money to start your business. You can do it from practically anywhere. And if you really assess what you're trying to do with your life, you may not need as much money as you think you need. And then shows people how they can start companies with no money, right? That as long as your idea is strong enough, as long as it delivers value, that you can really do something. And that's, in essence, how you've built Foundr magazine up, is by, I mean, your content's fantastic, right? And if your content wasn't fantastic, then it wouldn't go anywhere. And there's some awesome parallels between you and Richard Branson, who, with his student magazine that he launched, going into a phone box and dropping quarters and, just banging the phone until he got the advertisers and stuff that he needed. And you literally stalked him and got him to invest. Tell us that story, and what gave you the guts to go after Richard Branson. I mean, this was long before things had really taken off for you.
For some reason, I don't know why, but I developed this idea in my head that maybe I should try and get Richard Branson on the magazine. If I could, it would be a game changer.
Right.
And I just went down this path of trying to find out how to get in touch with him. That key thing that I learnt was, you need to find people when they're looking for press, and publishers are always looking for press for their books. And that's exactly what I did. I traced back, Sir Richard Branson's head of PR, and I called up on the phone. And I'll never forget, first 4 months in, and a lot of calls too. It wasn't just one call. It was, a lot of persistence. And I remember I left a lot of voicemails on this lady's phone. And what ended up happening was I managed to catch her, and I'll never forget, she was just about to hop onto the tube. So she was head of PR for Virgin in London. She was about to hop on the tube, and I said, I was so nervous, I was stumbling, and I ran to my room in my bedroom, and I said, hello, my name's Nathan Chan, I run this magazine. And it actually wasn't called Foundr at the time, it was called something else, and that's a whole nother story if you want to go down that path. Yeah, so I said, I'm Nathan from this other magazine, I'd love to feature Richard Branson. And she said to me, well, Nathan, please understand, we get pitched and called, asked this question at least 10 times a day. How long have you been around for? And I said, about 4 months. And she said, oh, okay, wow, you guys are really new. And I thought, when she was saying that, I said, yeah, no chance it's going to happen.
Right.
And she said, okay, well, do me a favor, send me an email, and I promise I'll get back to you. It might be a while, but I'll get back to you. And I sent her a really good email, and I played on the fact that his first business venture, like you said, was a student magazine. I played on the fact that the magazine, what we're trying to do is, educate the new leaders of tomorrow, because we very, very much focus on young entrepreneurs. And I pitched for a Skype interview, and she come back to me a couple of weeks later and said, Sir Richard Branson's really busy at the moment. I read the start of the email, and I was thinking, oh, here we go. And, he's really busy at the moment. He's got a lot of travel. He won't be able to do a Skype interview, but he's happy to do an email interview. And I just took that and ran with it. That was a pivotal turning point for us.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me that you couldn't get a job as a marketer, because one thing that you've proven that you're incredibly adept at is marketing, and what you've done with the article that you did with Richard Branson's incredible. I know that you consider that a big turning moment, which is phenomenal. But to walk me through, so when I talk to people that are considering a business, and they put it off because they're waiting for some sort of magic moment, lightning falling from the sky, someone to anoint them and say, yes, you're meant to start a business or whatever. You didn't do that. You didn't wait. You're very scrappy. You get on the phone. Like, where does all that persistence come from? Is it something that you've cultivated? Do you have self-talk? Is there a book that you read? I mean, like, it's your success seems to be a direct result of actions you've taken.
Yeah, I think first things first, Tom, in the early days, even before I wanted to even start a business, I actually did a lot of work on myself, on finding out who I was and what I wanted from life. And I think that work that I did, reading a lot of books about, personal development and even doing things like, crazy things like men's work, like, masculinity workshops, trying to find my life's purpose. Yeah, I did a lot of things on myself before I even looked at entrepreneurship or anything of the sort. Just really try to get to know who I was and what I wanted from life.
Whoa, tell me about that. I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, so this is really weird. Because I'm not a very, big kind of masculine kind of guy, I never really felt like a man, like when I was a lot younger. And I don't know why, but I started, researching some of this stuff, and there's actually a lot of information on this stuff, and I ended up starting to read a lot of books about masculinity and what it means to become a man, and there's some incredible books out there, one in particular called The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. Have you heard of that book?
I haven't, no.
No, so incredible book. I started doing a lot of reading, doing a lot of research, and even met this guy on the train. His name's Tony. He just ran up to me and said, "Oh, hey, that's a really good book. You should read this book around like men's work." And I was like, "Okay, well, thanks, thanks." And he's like, "Oh, my name's Tony." And I said, "What do you do?" And he said, "Oh, I'm a director at this organization for the government, but my real purpose is actually to help people find their life purpose."
Wow.
And he gave me his card, and I just kind of sat. It just sat with me in my bag. And then probably about 6 months later, or a little while later, I thought, you know what? I'm going to actually contact this guy and see if he can help me find my life purpose. So maybe he's like a life coach or something. I don't know what you want to call it, because I know life coaches can be a little bit woo-woo and stuff.
Sure.
But I contacted him, and we went through this process over about a couple of months, and he really he gave me all these exercises and all sorts of things, and it was absolutely game-changing. And this is just one instance of the kinds of things that I did even before I started Foundr, which I think has really helped me bring a lot of clarity, because once I did find that thing that I just fell in love with, it just sparked this hunger and this fire to just... It doesn't feel like work, Tom, and it's just... even when I was pitching for the Richard Branson piece, getting back to what you said, where does this come from? It's just like this hunger, this deep desire. It's kind of like, this is what I was born to do, and there's nothing holding me back that can stop me. Like, I just know that, I don't care what people think. I don't care if it doesn't work out. I don't care if I fail. It's like, I'm just going to go for it and give it my best. And that's just where it comes from, I guess.
So that's amazing. 1 million people met that same guy in the train. He handed that card to a lot of people, but you actually did something with it, which is really, really powerful. And so when you come out the other side, what is it that you realize is either a full realization of your purpose or the beginning of something? What was that?
Yeah, so I remember at the end of it all, once we were all said and done, he said, "This is the last session." And I remember even saying to him, because he got me to fill out some questions and answers, I remember reading it out to him and saying that I'm a lot more comfortable with my journey, and I know that I'm not where I'm supposed to be right now, but I know I'm on the path to finding it. And I just remember that that's kind of where we left things, and not long later, about a year later, I ended up starting Foundr.
So what do you start chasing then after that? So you know I'm on the right path, but what's the thing that was making you take a step forward? Was it an interest in publishing? Because I know you actually tried another business, which was sort of short-lived.
Yeah, it wasn't
greatsmellingcologne.com or something.
Yeah. That wasn't even a real business. Right?
And then the first iteration of Foundr was almost a horse magazine. And so what were those early steps, which I think people could learn a lot from?
I guess the thing that people could take away from that is, just putting yourself out there. And, to start the magazine, it cost me $3,000, purchasing that publishing software. That cost me $2,000. And then it was about $1,000 to get that first issue up. So I think the first thing you can do if people want to get started is make yourself financially accountable. So for me, I put $2,000 on my credit card, didn't have any money at the time, and just financially backed myself. And I started telling people about this magazine I was working on, even my family. So if you actually talk about it to other people and make yourself accountable that way, it kind of pushes you, because you don't want to be one of those people that just is all talk. And then putting a financial wager on yourself, I think, is a great way to get started.
So we start doing the first issue. Yeah. You get that put together. Things start not going so well. And somebody said that there's a lot of podcasts out there that have 3 episodes and then people just stop. Why didn't you stop? Because you got sued, which isn't like, hey, it's just not going well. It's like, I'm being aggressively, someone is trying to shut me down. So walk us through that, and then mentally, what are you doing to yourself to push through that? Yeah,
so first 4 months in, I just landed the interview with Richard Branson, and I remember waking up not a couple of weeks later, and I checked my laptop, had my day job, do a little bit of work every morning before I go to work, check my email, and I had this email from this guy from Dallas, Texas, this lawyer saying, hey, Nathan, if you didn't know this, you're being sued by this company for trademark infringement. And he's like, I think I can defend you. You might have a case here and all this stuff. And I was just freaking out because I didn't know whether this was real. I didn't even get a cease and desist. They just literally went straight to serving me and filing that suit. And what ended up happening was I ended up just having to change the name. But what I was going through at the time was, first of all, I never thought it would happen to me. So if you ever think to yourself, oh, maybe that might happen to you, oh, no, it never will. Why would it happen to me? It will. It's just such a traumatic feeling because you think you're going to go bankrupt. It's just such a terrible feeling. I don't know.
Success attracts that kind of drama, unfortunately.
Yeah. So it was, in the end, pretty easy because it happened early on. So we just changed the name and just updated the past 5 issues of the magazine and kept moving.
Yeah, and you've kept moving really, really fast. Walk me through how you've built the company as just incredibly, incredibly fast as you have. And I'd love to hear about your sort of, you're not romantic about how you make your money. So you test, you pivot. You test, you pivot.
Yeah. So my big thing, right, Tom, is focus. And when I was in my day job, it took me about 12, 14 months to leave. And the one only thing that I focused on was the magazine. We didn't have a social media presence. We didn't even have a blog. We didn't even write content, which is kind of crazy looking back. I just was focused on the magazine, mastering that. And once I built it up, I could replace my income, replace the operating costs of the magazine. I just left my job. And then the next piece of the puzzle was, what do we master next? We did a good job. We're doing a good job with the magazine. What can we master next? And what happened was a few things. We rolled out a new website. We started, producing content for the blog and for the website, and then started to try and master social. And what ended up happening was I stumbled upon Instagram, and that was just I had a few friends that were doing some cool things on Instagram. By that stage, I had a lot of entrepreneurial friends.
And what year is this?
This would have been about 18 months in. 18 months in.
So we're into 2014 at this point.
2014, yeah. End of 2014. We launched the podcast in November, so I realized that we've got all these amazing interviews in the magazine locked up, because if you read the magazine, you can also press play and listen to the interviews. And I had all these amazing interviews locked up. Let's just put them out and repurpose them and repurpose that content. And so the podcast was one thing that we started working on. The blog was another thing. But then Instagram, that's been a massive growth channel for us. And like you said, just test. I was testing all these other social channels. I know Facebook has been massive for you guys. Facebook, for us, for generating organic likes and driving traffic, we've never been really successful with. But with Instagram, I did a couple of posts and I saw our Google Analytics spike. And that took me down this path of just battle testing the crap out of Instagram. And, I think really good marketing is just throwing things against the wall, seeing what sticks. And then once you find something that sticks, just doubling down on that channel, mastering that channel, and then moving on to the next channel. And right now, a channel that we're focusing on is Snapchat, but also content marketing with the blog. So that's kind of how we build, just master one channel at a time, master one thing at a time. We got really good with the magazine. Then I realized, having the magazine is a great way to get interviews with all these influencers in the entrepreneurship space. People take you a lot more seriously if you're a magazine. And then we're going to use that to build a podcast, and then we're going to use that to build the brand, because people will trust what we do more if we showcase Richard Branson everywhere, or Seth Godin, or Tony Robbins, or Ariana Huffington, because it's like, if you ever stumble across the brand at any point in time, we have these ambassadors, like you guys have your ambassadors. We have these ambassadors, essentially, that's like, okay, you see Richard Branson's face, like, boom, all right, these guys must be legit. And you couple that with great design and great content, and you got a great product. And, that's what we did with the magazine, we did with the podcast, and then we found it with Instagram. And we just kind of move across and just keep mastering all these channels.
What I love about that is your whole story, when you put it into one package, to me at least, goes something like this. You're not, born into bazillion dollars, so it's really about identifying the things inside you that you did the work on you first, right? So exploring, who am I? What am I trying to accomplish? You realize if you're really going to be committed to something, you need to understand what it exactly is that you want, what your purpose is. You actually pursue that, which is incredible, and I don't think most people do. You come out the other side of that understanding, okay, I'm on the right path, but I'm not where I want to be yet, but I need to keep going. And then from there, it becomes a game of experimentation. And the reason that all of that is important, the reason that I hope you guys are listening, is no matter what you're trying to accomplish in your life, right? Everybody that you meet, there's something unique about them. There's something unique that they're trying to accomplish in their life. And not everybody's trying to be an entrepreneur, right? But people are trying to accomplish something. And whether that's to be a linchpin at their job, whether that's to be an amazing designer, which, by the way, this is the gentleman that introduced me to you because he fell in love with your design. Or you want to be a great baseball player. I mean, who knows what it is you're trying to accomplish. But everybody has that quest. There's something that they're trying to make come true. And then a lot of it, beyond that, is just stumbling around, right? And I think a lot of businesses don't get started because people are afraid of the stumble. Or they have some delusion that the people that have been most successful somehow didn't stumble. And so you could only ever hope to be a lesser version of that person. And the reason your story is so awesome, man, is you've been so successful. And I really hope you guys will all go check out, at a minimum, this man's Instagram feed is off the charts. It's amazing. I subscribe literally just as a user. I just want to get the amazing quotes and stuff that you guys do. Are incredibly powerful. And then you have actually a lot of free content, which in researching you, I learned a ton about the mistakes that we're doing on Instagram ourselves, and some of the just sort of nuts and bolts lessons. But embracing that I'm going to stumble through the dark, right? That is going to be my path to success, regardless of what I'm trying to accomplish. Like, if you look at me and you think I'm doing anything other than stumbling through the dark, even right now today, you're delusional. Now, take that and talk to us about, from a business perspective, how do you get really structured about the stumble? How do you get structured about the experimentation?
Yeah, well, it's a tough question, to be honest, Tom, because for me, it's just like we just have to find what's working. I'm a bit of a growth junkie, and I love scale. And for us, if it works, let's just double down on it. Let's just grow it as fast as possible. And
how do you pick something to, like, what's something that you want to test but you haven't tested yet?
I think we could probably get better with Facebook ads. Right now, we have an agency that does it, but the more and more it comes back to it, I think we probably should do it in-house, yeah.
And so how does that mental process work for you as you create? So there's going to be somewhat of an infinite number of options, things that you can try. Is it gut instinct? Is it reading blogs about the topic? Like, do you go through a research phase to come up with?
Yeah, a lot of it's research and speaking to people. Another thing that I want to try that we don't do very well with is Pinterest. I think that could be a massive source for growth as well. So, yeah, this is a really good question. So how do I find out what to try next? Where do I find out what to test? Mainly from speaking to people. And if I hear enough people talking about it, whether it's on podcasts or speaking to that person or reading about it, then we just go. And then the next piece of that puzzle is finding people that are crushing it and learning from them, however we can. I think that's very, very key. Yes, we do test things. Yes, we do find out things ourselves, but a big part of it is learning from others as well. Massive.
In reading the stuff that you write and obviously engaging with your podcast, you very much have this almost excitement over, I found somebody that I can learn from, and putting yourself at their feet and really getting into the nuts and bolts. And what makes that so meaningful is it's action-oriented. And I think that, Lisa Nichols talked a lot about this as well, is keep moving forward, right? So don't worry whether you understand, and Lisa was a guest on the show, and she talked about finding her purpose in 2% increments.
Yeah,
I thought, wow, that's really powerful, right? So it's not like the issue that you're putting together now, the issue one was already there, right? You evolve and you grow over time. And the willingness to sort of go through this and say, okay, I accept that whatever I'm going to put out now is not going to be as good as it could be. And when you said you're a growth junkie, that really resonated with me. And I know you meant scale, but I think you can apply that to just your own mindset, right? The books you were reading at the beginning, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the 4-Hour Workweek, all that stuff is really about growth hacking inside yourself, right? The mental framework that you need to have to go and be successful. So one of the things that you've done that I think is really important in your success is networking. Talk to us about how you approach networking and what are the results you've gotten from it.
Yeah, so networking is really everything. I think it is, as Gary V would say, the game. I do believe that. Now, we're in Melbourne. That's where our HQ is. Most of the people that we interview, most of the people that have it going on are here in the States. That's why I'm here right now, Tom, is I need to come here a couple of times a year and just catch up with people, just learn. And I think...
How do you set those meetings? Like, I'm thinking of the kid in Melbourne right now going, how the hell do you just show up at the airport and like walk around? Like,
no, well, look, a good way to get a lot of the meetings is to interview people and connect that way. And then another way is if someone knows someone, ask for the introduction. But before we get to all of that, I think a great core principle that people can have if they want to build and develop their network is serve first and ask later. I think serve first, ask later. So if you want to get to know someone, or if you want to just start developing your network, just start helping people. Start helping people that you admire their work. Start helping people that you don't expect anything in return. If you want to meet other like-minded entrepreneurs, start, just meeting other people, and always, from every single person you meet, let me know if there's anything else I can do to help. Let me know how I can help. And that's constantly what I'm always doing, just trying to help as many people as possible.
Wow, that's incredible. So you've interviewed some of the most incredible names in business, man. Even just looking at the people who've graced your cover, let alone, I'm sure, the myriad more that you've talked to for other articles and things, is really astonishing. What are some just critical life lessons you've learned from some of these people?
Well, thank you, Tom. This question's really hard because I think if you want to talk about how I've really grown Foundr quite fast, is because, and I think we could have grown 10 times faster knowing what I know now, it's, I think, because I just gained so much from all of these interviews and, you know, just speaking to incredible people like yourself, and I'm asking questions that I want to know for Foundr that we can apply really selfishly.
Sure.
I guess one key one, if I could think about it, was I learnt this from the founder of Xero Accounting. Do you know that software?
I don't.
$1 billion SaaS company, online accounting software, crushing it. The company was founded in New Zealand, and the key thing that I took away from him was just urgency, speed of implementation. This guy, he was just like, speed. It's all about speed. I just want to move as fast as possible. I don't care what people got in their way. Let's just move as fast as possible. My job is to get as many things as I can out of people's way, and it's all about speed. Speed and urgency, speed of implementation. The most successful companies move fast. Like you said, around testing and iterating, we're just all about speed. And that was a big takeaway. Another takeaway that I learned from the late Dave Goldberg, who was the previous CEO of SurveyMonkey, unfortunately before he passed away, husband to Sheryl Sandberg. He gave me a great piece of advice, and it was, there's a lot of assholes out there, so be a nice guy because he'll go a long way. Those are a couple that come to mind. I've got so many though. When you put me on the spot like that, Tom, I have to think about it.
All right, well, I'm going to put you on the spot again here. Let's see how far we get.
Okay.
So as an entrepreneur yourself, what are some key traits that you think somebody who wants to become a full-fledged entrepreneur should be cultivating in themselves?
I think definitely the ability to push your comfort zone. You have to constantly be pushing your comfort zone. And I think also around just being a good person. I think if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, it's a big part. Like, I know there's a lot of people that are supposedly cutthroat entrepreneurs and don't care about anyone, but I personally believe if you want to be a really savvy entrepreneur, you have to be just really a good person and treat people how they would like how anyone else would like to be treated, because relationships is key, man.
Yeah.
Like, you know, not just from networking side of things and speaking to other people, but also the people that you meet along the journey, and, you know, even speaking to your customers, even speaking to and hiring people. You know, that is so key. In the early days of starting your company and you're trying to grow it, the people that you put in your core team are the ones that can make or break it.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared to just really get to know people and understand just, I guess, you know, emotional intelligence. That is so underrated, dude. Just really knowing people, understanding their motivations, I think is so extremely key. Another thing I think is really, really important as an entrepreneur is just doing things you say you're going to do. So key. If you do things you say you're going to do, and if you want to do it, you just get it done. You know, one thing my mum taught me is if you're going to do a job, you do it properly. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah, I like that a lot. Those are some really foundational things to focus on. I think the social revolution really changed things in a way where being nice, being kind, being authentic, most importantly, you can be rewarded for that. And you can connect and make meaningful relationships with people that you might not otherwise be able to. There's a level of accountability because one offhanded comment, one bad dealing with somebody where you were a dick or whatever, like that can spread like wildfire. You know, and you see that all the time. So I think that is incredibly overlooked, but absolutely critical information. So what's next? So you're a man who tests, you're a man who optimizes. What are you testing and optimizing in your own life?
I think eventually we'll probably be doing courses at scale. I think that's where I see it going. Keep doing everything we're doing on the front end, but get really good at teaching and courses at scale. I think that's probably what the next 2 to 3 years looks like for us, and double down on content. Like this show, like what you're doing right here, Tom. I think is next level, dude. I think it's the way of the future. It's only going to get larger. You look at what things are happening with Snapchat, Facebook Live, Periscope, Blab. I believe that, yeah, we're just going to have to double down on video even more.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, the thing that I always come back to is value, right? So if it delivers value, then there's a big reason to do it. Like you, we're not romantic about how we pull it off. So if it's Instagram, great. If it's Facebook, great. None of that really matters. We want to get stuff that really resonates with people. But to pull that off, I think the core thing that people have to have is a mission. Would you say that Foundr has a mission?
Yeah. Probably not as unique as yours, though, but right now we want to help tens of millions of entrepreneurs. Like, our mission is very, very simple, to help entrepreneurs however we can, to provide content that is game-changing for people. That simple as that. At first it was to get, our content into the hands of millions, consumed every single month. Now it's in the tens of millions.
Wow, that's incredible. So tell me, what do you consider the definition of a life well lived?
I guess just doing what you want, when you want, without anyone telling you that you can't do it.
Total freedom, as you said.
Yep.
Awesome. Nathan, thank you so much for being on the show, man. That was a lot of fun. Really, really appreciate it. Where can they find you?
So, if people want to find out more, best place to go is just Foundr Mag, FOUNDRmag.com, or you can follow me on Twitter, Nathan H. Chan.
And don't forget Instagram. What these guys are doing is absolutely incredible. And what I really, really hope that you guys take away from this is, man, you can be a self-starter. This notion of self-generated escape velocity. Escape velocity is very simple. It's the thing that gets you out of the orbit of the thing that you're in. So right now, you're all sucked down to the earth by something. And if you can create the energy in your own life to break free of that, then really you can do anything. And Nathan, his story is somebody creating that escape velocity for himself. He didn't wait for somebody else. He didn't wait for his mom to cheer for him or anything. He just went out and did it. And right now, there's nothing stopping you from going out and doing it. If you don't know what your purpose is, man, you can find your purpose. You can track that down. You can do the work. But anything that you put the work into, you can figure it out. It's not all going to be handed to you in a neat little bundle, so don't worry about that. Take that Lisa Nichols 2% approach, put your life together piece by piece until you find the thing that you were meant to do. Write down that mission and go after it with everything you have. And if you do it and you study and you practice and you pivot and you find what's working and you double down when you find something, you can have the kind of crazy success that this man is having. And doing it as a good person and connecting and being authentic and real will only magnify your efforts. So learn from this man, as I know I have. What he's doing is absolutely incredible. Until next week, my friends, be legendary. Take care.
Thank you so much.
It was a lot of fun. Really appreciate it.